Have you ever been absolutely certain you remembered something, only to find out later you were totally wrong? Well, it turns out that's not some bug in your brain, it's actually a feature. So, let's dive into the surprising and kinda weird science of how we really remember things.
All right, to get us started, I've got a quick little test for you. Take a look at this list of words on the screen. Seems pretty straightforward, right? I'll give you a few seconds. Go on, try to lock them in. You got it? Okay, great. So, question for you. Was the word pencil on that list? If you're like most people, your brain is probably shouting, yeah, of course. But nope, it wasn't. Seriously, you can go back and check. That little trick your brain just played on you, that right there reveals the first big secret about memory. It is not a perfect recording. Let's find out why.
Our journey into how memory works starts right at the front door, this temporary inbox in our brain that scientists call our working memory. You can think of your working memory as the RAM on your computer. It's that active space where you're juggling thoughts. You know, like when you're trying to remember a phone number just long enough to dial it. But here's the thing, this mental scratch pad is incredibly fragile. The second you get distracted or try to hold too much in there at once, poof, it's just gone. So just how big is this mental scratch pad? Well, according to some really cool research by neuroscientist Nelson Cowan, it's shockingly small. On average, we can only hold about 4 new pieces of information there at any one time. That's it, just 4. So how in the world do we deal with such a tiny limit? We cheat. Our brains are brilliant at automatically grouping information into bigger, more meaningful units. It's a cool process called chunking. I mean, a 10-digit phone number is way more than 4 items, right? But when you chunk it into 3 pieces, the area code, the prefix, and the last 4 digits, suddenly your brain sees it as just 3 items. It's a simple but absolutely genius hack.
Okay, so if our working memory is so tiny, how does anything get saved for good? How does information make that all-important leap from that little scratch pad into the giant filing cabinet of our long-term memory?
Well, the brain uses these mental frameworks, or schemas, to file everything away efficiently. A schema is kind of like a pre-existing folder in your mind. And hey, remember our test from the beginning? All those words, desk, chair, paper, they fit so neatly into your office schema. Your brain just took a shortcut and assumed, well, pencil must have been there too because it belongs in that folder. It's a super efficient filing system. But yeah, it can lead to some pretty predictable mistakes.
And get this, one of the most critical parts of this entire filing process happens when you're not even awake. Research has shown that while you're sleeping, your brain is working overtime. It's replaying the day's events, strengthening the important connections, and deciding what information is worth keeping and what's just junk that it can toss out. So if you really want to remember something, you literally need to sleep on it. Okay, so we've covered how information gets in and how it gets stored, but now we get to the most mind-bending part of this whole journey, getting those memories out. Because retrieving a memory isn't like playing back a video. No, it's a lot more like telling a story. This is probably the biggest misconception out there. We think our memories are like these perfectly archived movie clips we can just pull up. They're not. Every single time you recall an event, your brain rebuilds it from scratch by firing a unique pathway of neurons. And here's the kicker. That reconstruction process means the memory can be influenced by new information, changing it just a little bit every single time. Your brain might even invent details to fill in the gaps, and you will be convinced they were always there.
To see just how flexible our memory is, let's look at this classic experiment from 1974 by psychologist Elizabeth Loftus. She had people watch a video of a car accident. Afterwards, she asked some of them this really straightforward question you see here.
But then, for another group, she changed just one single word. Instead of asking how fast the cars were going when they hit each other, she asked how fast they were going when they smashed into each other.
And the result? It was absolutely staggering. The group that heard the word smashed didn't just estimate the cars were going way faster. They were also more than twice as likely to falsely remember seeing broken glass at the scene, glass that wasn't even in the video to begin with. The memory itself was literally changed by a single word. How crazy is that?
So, if our memory is this unreliable and easy to mess with, what about the other side of the coin? Forgetting. Is that just some frustrating flaw in our mental design?
Not at all. In fact, forgetting is a critical feature. Just imagine for a second, if you remembered every single thing you saw, heard, and felt every single day, the sheer volume of useless information
what you had for breakfast last Tuesday, the color of every car you passed on the way to work, it would be completely overwhelming. Forgetting is the brain's way of clearing out all the clutter so it can actually focus on what's important.
And this brings up another really practical quirk of our memory. Our brain is way better at one type of remembering than another. Trying to pull an answer out of thin air, that's called recall, is actually really hard. But recognition, where you just have to pick the right answer from a list of options, way, way easier. It's the reason multiple choice tests feel so much less stressful than a big ol' essay question.
So let's wrap this all up. If there's one thing to take away from all of this, it's this. Your memory is not a video camera. It's a storyteller. It's got a tiny little front door, so it uses chunking to get around it. It uses mental shortcuts to file things away. It rewrites the story every time you tell it, and thank goodness it forgets, because that's what lets you focus on what truly matters.
Which, leaves us with one final, pretty profound question to chew on. If your memory of an event is subtly altered every single time you recall it, then which version is the real one? Is your past a fixed truth, or is it just the latest story you've told yourself?